Over here, I have the 6 items that we will need to create in order to get all the way up to this level. The first thing that we need is 9 basic fusion crafting injectors. Once you've made your basic fusion crafting injectors, you can make a little area for them. You can place them down. You can do it exactly as I have. You can put it up or down from here, but this is just the baseline. So 1 block, and then fusion crafting core, which we'll be making just in a moment. Then 2 blocks of distance between the fusion crafting injectors and the fusion crafting core. So once you have that setup done, we can make the fusion crafting core, which is just 4 diamond, 4 lapis, and another draconic core. Now you'll be making a lot of draconic cores throughout all of Draconic Evo, so if you haven't already made a ton of these, you should really invest in making a ton of them. Okay, so as I showed you earlier, you can put the fusion crafting core just exactly 1 block up. That way you can have everything on the ground level and easily accessible. Now that we have the fusion crafting core, we need to power all 8 fusion crafting injectors. The 9th one, as you'll see, is being placed inside of the fusion crafting core to be made into a wyvern tier, which we will explain later. I forgot to explain it when I was recording this, so really quick I'll explain it now. In order to make the Awakened Draconium blocks, it actually says specifically that the tier in order to craft it is wyvern, and that means that you need wyvern fusion and crafting injectors. You can't use just basic crafting injectors. Other things in Draconic Evo also say what tier they are, and if you don't have that tier of fusion crafting injector or higher, you won't be able to make the item. So because we need to power these, the easiest and simplest way that I've found is by using the energy crystals from the Draconic Evo mod. And you'll notice that I have a basic energy IO crystal here, a basic wireless energy crystal here. You'll also notice that I can bind them all to whatever. We will get to that when we come to it. So first we need to make basic energy relay crystals, because these are the base for both the basic energy IO crystal and the basic wireless energy crystal. So you'll need at least 2, I would say. You don't have to. You could just make 1 set of these, so just 4 diamond and 1 wyvern core and a wyvern energy core, in the center. And from there, using those energy relay crystals, you can then make basic energy IO crystals. And this is just done by simply placing the basic energy relay crystal inside of a crafting station. It's a shapeless recipe, so if I take this and go into my inventory, I can still make it on hand. Now with those basic energy IO crystals, these are going to be put on the output of an energy source, so you can put them on the power taps on big reactors. In this case, I'm just using a creative energy source just to show proof of concept that they do transfer power, and you saw that they had 4 million RF stored in the crystal, whereas this one, for the sake of crafting, does not. From the basic energy crystals, we need one more thing to actually transfer the energy from a power source, like the creative energy block or your big reactor, into all of these things. Just a quick clarification, you don't need to have the wireless energy crystal in order to go from output into a block that needs energy. You can go from basic IO straight to the block that needs energy, but it's a lot easier if you use a wireless crystal, since you can only link 2 things to a basic IO crystal, whereas you can link up to 16 blocks that the wireless energy crystal will output to. Now, the easiest way, if you're using the Draconic Evo mod like I am, is just to make a wireless energy crystal. So the wireless energy crystals are pretty simple. They require 6 ender pearls, because you'll be making 2 of those into Eye of Enders. They also require 2 particle generators and another one of those basic energy relay crystals. Once you have your wireless crystal and your basic IO crystal, we then need a way to link them all together to not only the fusion crafters, but also to the power source. So we'll make this. It's something called a crystal binder. See how these are crystals? This binds them together. Once you've made this and you've placed down your crystals, you don't have to place them this close. It has a lot larger of a range than this. This is just simpler to see. First, you'll see this. You'll see absolutely no line between the crystals. Hold shift and right click on the basic energy IO crystal. This will place it inside of the crystal binder so that you can start binding this specific crystal to other crystals. Now we need this IO crystal to go to the wireless crystal. If the wireless crystal is too far, you can place a relay crystal, send the basic IO crystal to the relay crystal, and then to the wireless. So we don't have to stay shifted anymore because we don't need to select the other block to bind it, because if we do, that'll be the new block saved. So we can just stay here. I mean, it's fine either way, but for the sake of organization, we will use the IO crystal, and we will right click while standing, not crouched, but standing on the wireless crystal. Now you'll notice that there is this blue line that you saw earlier connecting to the wireless energy crystal. This is them being linked, and this is the IO crystal giving energy to the wireless energy crystal. It's not taking any energy back to the IO. Now that this is getting power, as you can see, charge is 3.99 million. We can do another shift or crouch, whatever your crouch button is, and right click to save this to the crystal binder. And now we need to power each one of the 8 fusion crafting injectors. Now you'll notice that I'm right clicking on the front and it's saying that it can't receive power on this side. That's because it receives power from the back. So you can just walk behind them and right click on the back of each one of the fusion crafting injectors. You have to make sure that each crafting injector is getting power, otherwise it won't work. Top down view, we have our basic IO crystal made from our energy relay crystals. It's sending power to our wireless crystal, and the wireless crystal is then outputting it to our 8 crafting injectors. Now that we have all that done, we need to get a lot of these materials, because you'll need to make 8, or you can make all 9 basic fusion crafting injectors into wyvern fusion crafting injectors. Now this is not the fastest process, but you do have to do it by separate items. You'll notice that none of these are in a stack. I got these as a separate item. And if I keep collecting, I can get them all as separate items because none of them are stacked. You do have to separate them like so. Once they're placed, you'll notice this will show up. If you don't have all the items necessary, it won't show anything. If I put the fusion crafting injector crystal inside, but I don't have the diamonds, for example, it won't show me the recipe. Once this is all done and you have a wyvern core, 2 draconic cores, a draconium block on one side, and 4 diamonds on the other, you are then ready to see this recipe and click start. Now you'll notice that it says charging. This is because every single Draconic Evo crafting recipe requires a whole ton of RF. So hopefully you have some way to store a lot of RF, or you might be waiting a while. Or if you don't have a large way to store RF, hopefully you at least have a way to make it very quickly. Now you'll notice that this is the animation that takes place in order to create the Wyvern Energy Crafting Fusion Core, whatever. The purple version of the Fusion Crafting Injectors. So that's 1, and you have to do that 8 times. And the reason why I say you don't have to make any more basic Fusion Crafting Injectors is because you can just replace them. So I could take this block out, for example, put down the new Wyvern, then pop this in, and I could start up the whole thing again, you know, with the diamonds on one side, and we could put the Draconium block here, put a Wyvern core, and it'll work just the same as it did with the first one because it is backwards compatible. Now once we do that enough times, you will have a setup similar to this. Now in this setup, you'll notice that we are not fully linked, so once again, we're going to link everything from our wireless crystal over to each of the fusion crafting injectors and make sure that you see the red light behind each one of them. You're going to need a lot more of the draconic cores. You're going to need 6 of them this time. And you'll also need the dragon heart. After all that, you need 4 draconium blocks, and this will create Awakened Draconium block. Now the reason why this is taking so long is because this one, like I said, some recipes require a ton of RF, and in this case, this one requires 350 million RF. So even though we have our creative block back here that does it at 2.1 billion yen per tick, it's only going so fast. Okay, once we have our Awakened Draconium block, or 4 Awakened Draconium blocks I should say, we can take them over to a crafting table, or just do it in your inventory. Put it down, and you'll notice that we can now make our Awakened Draconium Ingots.